YouTube is killing D&D channels left and right. The algorithmic cabal has its hands on the scale, and they're coming for you specifically because you didn't upload 3 times this week. You've said everything you possibly can about how to be a game master, and now you have to churn out clickbait, or WotC is going to send the Pinkertons after you.
Leave me alone!
The fact is, none of this is true, and we're going to tell you why before our heads explode. A lot is changing on YouTube and in the D&D RPG space right now, and some of the bigger channels of the last decade are closing up shop. But there's a lot being said about how and why this is happening that simply isn't true. And for those of you out there that have been thinking about making a channel about role-playing games, the truth is, there has never been a better time to do it. And today, we're going to tell you why. For the past 10 years, there's been an unprecedented demand for entry-level RPG content because there's never been so many new people coming into the hobby. There were some really big early successes on YouTube and a lot of channels that followed in their footsteps. But the truth is that this huge wave of nerd culture that has been carrying this kind of content is likely crashing now. And this is normal. Popular culture and people's interests and hobbies change over time, and this happens in other niches on YouTube as well. The low-hanging fruit of RPG content and how to GM your first game simply isn't capturing people's interest as much as it used to. Many people out there will tell you that the YouTube algorithm is like the executioner, waiting to pull the lever, or an inscrutable enemy that you just need to outsmart just to keep afloat. It's like YouTubers wake up every morning in the Saw room, and John Kramer has given them some new unwinnable obstacle course to get through, or their channel will be dissolved in acid. And although that would be much more satisfying to me in particular, it's simply not true. YouTube doesn't have its hand on the scale, and it's not looking for ways to kill your channel because your click-through rate was 1% lower than average. What good would that do for YouTube? It's not in their interest to artificially kill content creators just because they couldn't get through the maze fast enough to get to the cheese. The simple truth is that YouTube wants you to succeed and is bending over backwards to make that possible. But they can't do that if your audience doesn't like your videos. Just like everyone else on this platform, I started with 0 subscribers. But after doing a little research and finding channels like vidIQ, I inevitably stumbled on the best piece of advice for YouTubers ever made, which unsurprisingly was from the most successful YouTuber of all time, Mr. Beast.
Anytime you say the word algorithm, just replace it with audience. The algorithm didn't like that video? No, the audience didn't like that video.
This is the thing. The algorithm is not a vast, impersonal, mathematical puzzle for you to solve. It's much, much simpler than that. The algorithm is you, the viewer, the audience. When people click on a video and then stick around to watch it, that video gets shown to more people. That's all it is. There's no great mystery to solve here. Now, I'm going to talk about some comments by other YouTubers, and I know that anyone watching this is going to see this as some sort of Rorschach test and decide that I either hate these people or I love them, but there are a bunch of myths being promulgated about how YouTube works and what you have to do to be successful on the platform. So which is it? Do I hate them or do I love? Myth number 1, YouTube is sunsetting my channel.
So YouTube, in all of their financial money-grabbing business approach, and I can't blame them for it, said to me, right, your channel is going to be shunted off into oblivion. So your channel's being shunted off. It will still remain on YouTube, and it will still be accessible and still be able to be found. But it will no longer be presented to new folks. That's basically the bottom line.
I'm going to say this once. This never happened. It is not in the interest of YouTube to shut off someone's channel artificially. This is a case of either people losing interest in the content or the packaging of the video making it unclickable. And I don't think this guy is lying or acting in bad faith, but when he talked to his YouTube rep and asked if he could make a new GM advice channel, this is what they said.
YouTube had already said to me, you are not allowed to do another GM advice channel because Great GM is that, and it is no longer relevant, it's no longer presented in a way that is appropriate to younger audiences and so on and so forth. And you've spoken about everything already anyway, so all you'd be doing is just launching a new channel to speak about the same stuff. So no, not allowed to do that, or strongly advised against doing that.
Notice the wording here. Not allowed and strongly advised not to are completely different things. This is just a frank criticism that if you simply make the same content, which is already underperforming, you shouldn't expect different results. This isn't YouTube killing your channel. It's them telling you that what you're making is simply not resonating with your audience. And here's the proof that YouTube isn't artificially killing the channel. That video did more than 100,000 views since it was released, about a week ago. The next two videos that got released right after that on this channel were back to underperforming. The thumbnail and title of that one stick out. It was content that grabbed people's attention, and it was genuine and heartfelt. People were interested in what he was saying, and the algorithm, aka you, the audience, was interested in it. And it got pushed out to a huge number of people. As soon as he returned to content and packaging of stuff he knew wasn't working already, the videos didn't perform. Every single video that gets put on YouTube is judged individually on its own merits. We know this is the case because of how our videos have performed over time. Our biggest video was an instant success. It had a huge click-through rate and touched on a topic that was on the minds of almost everyone in the hobby. And we thought that this huge success was going to put more wind in the sails of our next video. But that didn't happen. Our next video bombed. The click-through rate was abysmal and no one saw it for months. But it was another topic that we knew was going to have a wide audience, and we knew the content was great. So weeks after we released it, we changed the title and the thumbnail and waited. The click-through rate instantly went up, but it just still wasn't being shown to very many people. But it slowly over time began to climb and climb until YouTube had enough data to know who to show it to. It took almost 4 months for that video to finally find its audience. And when it did, it went to the moon. Since then, we've had some higher performing videos, but haven't had anything take off like those other two. And YouTube isn't punishing us for this. Our videos just haven't hit our audience as hard as those two did. And we know that. So we're always looking for topics and perspectives that we have that we know that no one else can give, which brings us to the next myth. Myth number 2, YouTube only rewards clickbait.
Like this guy who writes, I remember when this channel had useful things to say. I haven't watched a video in 6 months. It's all just clickbait now. This one says it in a much nicer way. I appreciate the effort you put into your content. However, I've noticed a significant portion of your channel's recent output, maybe around 60%, leans heavily into the clickbait style topics like the Elon Musk drama and similar low-grade content. I truly miss the days of your campaign diaries. Those were some of my favorite videos.
Professor Dungeon Master constantly gets shit for making clickbait. He's shown a million times how this is not actually the case, but people complain anyway. But here's the thing, PDM doesn't actually make clickbait. He makes news videos. And the reason you tune in is because he has a unique perspective on the news. If this was bait, he'd need to be rug pulling you somehow. When you see his thumbnail about the latest scandal, it's always relevant to the actual content, and he always talks about what the video says it does in the title. There's no deceit here. He sold you a topic with attractive packaging, and surprise, surprise, you got exactly what you paid for. And because all of us keep watching him give his unique perspective on the news, his videos get recommended to more people. How should this be any other way? Should YouTube spend a bunch of bandwidth on content that nobody watches? This is a good thing. You want his perspective, and YouTube gives it to you. And this guilt trip that people are addicted to inflicting on content creators is so stupid. Actual clickbait is when your thumbnail advertises one thing and the content is something you didn't expect. When you see actual clickbait, you stop watching the video, which is the worst thing that can happen to a video on YouTube. YouTube used to have clickbait, but they've gotten very good at punishing that organically because the algorithm is tuned to give the audience what they want. And again, our successful videos aren't on topics that are immediately relevant to the news cycle. Some of our best videos are on Vampire the Masquerade, which isn't and has not been a popular game for a very, very long time. But there are people out there that are still interested in the topic. And as a result, those videos still get a ton of views. And we let the audience know with the thumbnail and the title exactly what the video is about, so they know what they're getting into. But the issue of clickbait goes farther than this, because even the wise Professor Dungeon Master is getting some things wrong about how channels work. And we're going to talk about the mistake PDM is making right after our sponsor, which is us, Black Lodge Games. The Shucked Oyster for Shadowdark and other old-school role-playing games is available now on DriveThruRPG. This insane brothel is guaranteed to shake up your sleepy RPG town and introduce chaos into your campaign like you've never seen before. Available in print and PDF, this module has over 3 dozen fully fleshed out NPCs, 2 new carousing locations, and 3 insane dungeons that will add dark surrealism and a lot of comedy to your game. Check out the link in the description to get it now. And if you are Professor Dungeon Master and you're watching this video, we'll send you a copy free of charge. Myth number 3. YouTube kills your channel if you don't upload all the time.
If you ever thought it would be cool to be a dungeon tuber, You should know that I work all the time. Like on Thanksgiving, I worked. Christmas, I work. I'm taping this on New Year's Day. Other people are off, they're relaxing, I'm working. I'll put at least 3 hours of work in on the holidays.
Look, I respect the hustle, but YouTube doesn't send your channel into a death spiral if you stop meeting some sort of upload quota. Sure, there is a feedback loop where if you upload more, the more people binge your content, but I can prove that taking a break won't kill your channel, because I took an 8-year break from uploading so I could get my GED. And after I failed, my channel started blowing up. And you can see how this plays out with other channels as well. Colville can go months without uploading a video and he still gets views. But other channels can upload multiple times per day and somehow manage to get 0 views on a YouTube short. I don't even know how that's possible, but it happens. You see, YouTube is judging every video individually. And you can see this even on the bigger channels like Jenny D and Colville. Their least successful videos, of course, are still orders of magnitude more successful than mine, but you can see how they have outliers with low views and high views. This is 100% based on how the audience responded to that content in particular. You don't have to treat this like you're working in a salt mine with some horrible video quota to meet or a faceless robot to defeat every day. If you do, you'll probably end up making content you don't care about. And if that happens, your audience is going to stop caring about it. They will kill your channel because they'll stop watching, as rightfully they should, which leads us to our next myth. Myth number 4. Your channel can permanently die.
I've had the unfortunate experience of my channel dying. My channel has died like 3 times before, and I've thankfully been able to resuscitate its corpse every time and somehow get it to come back even better than before. That's not the case for everybody. And in fact, my channel right now as we speak is in yet another death spiral.
People think that once your channel stops getting views, it's over forever. You've been regulated to the algorithmic dustbin, but this isn't true at all. My channel is thriving after being shut down for the better part of a decade, and even some people complaining about channel death like Esper the Bard have shown that they can revive their channel multiple times. And I don't know what he did to save his channel from being boiled in algorithm juice, but I can guarantee you that he started making content that resonated with his audience again. And this is where I think How to Be a Great GM is making a big mistake by creating new YouTube channels on content which he has clear and obvious overlap with his existing channel. Dude, you have a huge subscriber base for a TTRPG channel. I assure you that people want to hear your takes on Star Trek adventures, and probably Star Trek just more generally. And the idea that you have for drawing inspiration from history and bringing it to the table is awesome. And you know what it actually sounds like to me? It sounds like advice for how to be a great GM. If you've said everything you have to say on the beginner side of things in the tabletop hobby, you don't have to say those things anymore. You can run with these other good ideas that you have. And the 100,000 plus views that you got on your I'm quitting video is proof that the channel isn't dead. You're not going to be punished for straying outside of some super narrow lane that you think you're in. I have a friend in a much more competitive niche who makes content about video games. Frog Archist had great success making content about Halo and literally nothing else. He blew up because of it. But just like the D&D space is seeing channels run out of things to talk about with a new perspective, the entire Halo video niche started seeing massive declines in viewership last year. He almost quit making videos because of it. But he took a risk and stepped outside what he thought was the very narrow preferences of his audience and started talking about all sorts of games. As if by magic, nearly instantaneously, his declining viewership exploded. And here's the thing for other people making YouTube videos. You're not simply in competition with every other D&D video as a YouTuber. You're in competition with every other hobby that every viewer has. My homepage has all sorts of shit on it, from politics to DJ equipment reviews to video games and just videos of people destroying beaver dams. You don't need to make what you think the algorithm wants. You need to make stuff that you're passionate about and that you have a unique perspective on. This history series of videos, I mean, it sounds great. And it would be a mistake to assume that your existing audience wouldn't be interested in that. And this outlook that channels can die and that the RPG space has limited shelf life is just wrong. There are new channels being made and blowing up all the time. Myth number 5. It's a bad time to make a new RPG YouTube channel. This couldn't be farther from the truth. It's only a bad time to make the 5,000th How to Run Your First Session of D&D video. That's been done. 5,000 times. But role-playing games have way more interesting things to offer than that, and so do you. As preferences shift and nerd culture loses its primacy, the same tired slop videos just aren't going to be interesting to people. This is a prime opportunity for people with strong opinions to make some waves. And having strong opinions is the only reason that our channel has had the explosive growth that we saw in the last year. People have been drawn to our videos because it's clear that we have a perspective that goes beyond just regurgitating talking points about how to make a 5-room dungeon. And if you're thinking about making an RPG channel, you don't need to be afraid of the algorithm or that going against the grain of the conventional YouTube RPG wisdom is somehow going to tank your channel. It's actually the opposite of that. We've had several YouTubers that are bigger than us tell us that, well, they wish they could say the things that we get to say. And here's the secret. You can. Our channel would have never grown if we let ourselves be hostages to the expectations of big YouTube or the comments section on our videos. And it turns out that having the balls to stick to your guns actually attracts the kind of people you want in your audience to begin with. People who want sincerity and passion and ideas are the kind of people you want watching your videos. They're people who are legitimately interested in what you have to say and aren't going to hit the unsubscribe button just because you think that 5e actually sucks. And that's the big danger of putting yourself in the D&D YouTuber corner. You put yourself at risk of watching a significant portion of your audience evaporate overnight. But if they do unsubscribe, that's actually a favor to you. It frees you up from ever having to be concerned or afraid that if you step out of line or rock the boat, that some large portion of your audience is just going to disappear. This fear drives people crazy, and it's absolutely poisonous because if you're holding back or second-guessing yourself, that insincerity is going to bleed into your content, and your videos won't be just terrible betrayals of your own beliefs at that point. They'll be something much, much worse. They'll be boring. And thankfully, we aren't the only people on YouTube that are offering new or controversial perspectives on role-playing games. There is an entire new scene of rising creators that are making content that is actually interesting, that won't experience channel death, because they aren't pigeonholed into talking about how WotC's sales are in the toilet. People like Trill are making hard-hitting content about ideas of good and evil and gray morality in fantasy worlds. The Tomb of Lime Gaming is crushing it with new videos about the nature of role-playing games and immersion. The Joy of Wargaming makes videos about actual wargaming. And yes, that includes D&D. Now is the time to have actual, meaningful conversations about the nature of role-playing games without getting stuck in the endless traffic circle of 5e slop and banal WotC news. If you're out there watching D&D YouTube and you're tired of people saying the exact same thing over and over for a decade, this is the moment for you to shake up the conversation. Make that channel you've been thinking about. Give people a reason to be interested in what you have to say. It's the only way to be really successful. And if you have actual ideas that conflict with the conventional wisdom of RPG influencers, don't be afraid to actually say what you think. People are desperate for sincerity, and they're tired of everyone apologizing for themselves. You can be a YouTube creator without being a slave. So cast off your chains and do it.